Marshmallow Reads. I'm Marcy, and I bought too many books. Yep, this is a book haul. I bought a bunch of books. Let's talk about them. This first half is going to be from a local secondhand store. It is just like filled to the ceiling with books and like a bunch of different shelves and just a lot of piles of books. They're getting it back up. It was such a joy to be able to browse through these stacks of books, and I really enjoyed myself. So yeah, let's start with these first round of books. I still have the stickers on here. This first one I got was, or is, the Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. I am surprised by how many of his books I have not read. I've only read like a handful, so I am very excited to finally get more of his stuff and actually read them. This one specifically, I believe, is like a series of short stories or essays or small tales talking about, you know, the hypothetical future, history, whatever, where humans are trying to colonize Mars. And in the early days, it doesn't go well for them. Like, there's a lot of struggles and there's a lot of loneliness on Mars as well. Because they are so incredibly isolated, many of them, if not all, have developed this great loneliness disease that seems to affect everyone who's alone and stuck on Mars. Oh, and there's native Martians, and they don't seem to like us very much. And that is the extent of my knowledge of this book. Excited to read it. So this bookshop is mostly filled with older books, which is fine for me because I love older, more classic sci-fi books, including Arthur C. Clarke. He is like maybe my favorite sci-fi writer, definitely up there. Last year I read Rendezvous with Rama, and I absolutely loved it. It is a story of this mysterious vessel that comes to Earth, or it's like flying from way out of the universe towards our sun, and then it like does a loop-de-loop and then leaves. And we don't know why, but we were able to get a crew of space explorers to land on this vessel, enter it, and discover its wonders. It had such a great sense of wonder. It was such a joy to read. So when I saw the next 3 books in that series, I knew I had to grab them. So I've got Rama 2, Garden of Rama, and Rama Revealed. These 2 might be switched in the order. Not sure. All I know is Rama 2 is next. So I am very excited to read more of this one. I think Rama 2 specifically starts like 75 years after the first vessel came and went, and now a second vessel is headed towards our solar system, and you know, we still don't really know much about like who sent it or like, you know, any basic information like that. So I'm hoping a few more mysteries are revealed in this one. Yeah, I'm quite excited for this. So this little bookshop had general categories, you know, like you normally would have, of different genres. There's like crime, true crime, biographies, fantasy. There was also a little corner titled Cozy Mysteries. Not just any mysteries, the cozy kind. And I don't know if I've ever read one of those. So on a whim, I checked out the books and I found this one, The Witch's Bane, and I bought it. I just picked it up. It's a blind buy, and I didn't even like fully read the synopsis or anything. So it is the second in a series, the China Bales series, I guess. And I think it takes place in like a smallish Texas town, and none of that really excited me. Mostly the word witch and this pumpkin got me really excited. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this one. So this book starts off with some like Halloween hijinks, and somehow it escalates to brutal murder. Don't know how or why or what or who, but I am excited to give this a try. I do really enjoy mysteries in general, and I feel like especially right now, the type of books that I'm reading tend to be less serious, more cozy, so this sounds perfect. And then, so I'd already checked out with all of those books in hand, and then at the checkout, which was like covered in another massive pile of books, I happen to glance down and find Lab Girl. Okay, first, look at this cover. It's gorgeous. It's different from the cover that I'm used to seeing for this one, and this specific book has been on my list to read for a while, and I just haven't gotten around to it. And now I have it, and I can just do it. It is a non-fiction memoir about a botanist, and it's more than just like her life in lab and like in research. It also talks about like her lab partner and best friend, and you know, personal stories like that. And I'm really excited to give this one a go. All right, the next bookshop I visited was a Half Price Books. I understand it's a chain, but I've never been to one, and I'm definitely going back. Like, this place was massive, like so many different aisles. I didn't even go down all of them. There was, you know, thankfully a lot of sci-fi, a lot of fantasy, a lot of literary fiction, so I was loving it. The first one I picked up at Half Price Books was Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. I am quite excited to have my entire being crushed by this book. I've heard absolutely wonderful things, and I was just saying that I'm not really reading a whole lot of like crushing, soul crushing, life ending type of books, but I still want to give this one a go soon, because like I've just heard so many good things, and it's sci-fi, it's time travel, it's like, oh. So from what I understand, a young woman goes from like celebrating her birthday in like the mid-70s to all of a sudden being sucked through time into the antebellum South, where she like saves a boy from drowning, I think a little white boy from drowning, and then is almost killed. But then she gets back home to like the 70s. She's like, oh, that was weird. I almost died. And then it keeps happening. She keeps getting sucked back into time. And I think it like her path keeps crossing with this little boy's path, and you know, why is that? And she has to figure out why this is happening and how she can stop it. And it's apparently pretty devastating. I mean, obviously, a young Black woman being forced to go back into slavery times is gonna be pretty bad. Not a good time for her. So I think most of the conflict does surround that, and but yeah, I want to, but I have to wait until my body is ready. But when it is, it's gonna be good. The next book I found there was The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I've been wanting to read something by her for like ages. Like, I know she's one of those big classics of sci-fi, but I saw this cover. I guess it's like the 50th anniversary of this book, and that's why it has this fancy cover, and I was like, okay, you got me. So I grabbed it, and now I am excited to give it a try. The brief synopsis that I read for this one, it's like a lone human emissary goes to this planet of winter. It's like an alien planet with alien inhabitants, and this human has to like, you know, I'm not entirely sure why this human is here, but the alien inhabitants, they can choose and at will, I believe, change their gender. And this like is mind-blowing to the human, and I'm assuming the humans that they're in contact with. And this book delves into, I guess, how these humans react to seeing this alien culture and this alien gender confirmation change thing. And I don't know, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. It definitely goes into like human psychology, sociology, gender studies. I think I'm gonna really enjoy this one. All right. After Half Price Books, I got over to this independently owned, I think it's the largest independently owned bookstore in my state, and I was really excited. It is gorgeous. Let me talk about the first one that I already read. So I went to this bookstore last weekend and I devoured this book in like 2 days. Oh, it was just so good. Okay, this is Act Your Age, Eve Brown, and it is by Talia Hibbert. Love her. She has definitely become one of my favorite authors in general, and definitely my favorite romance author. And this is the third book in the Brown Sisters series. And even though it is part of a series, you don't actually have to read them in order. You can just pick one up at random. Each book follows one of the 3 Brown sisters, and this is the third and youngest Brown sister, Eve. And I love her. Her personality is so intensely bright and glittery. Love it. But she is a hot mess. Like, she just has not been able to hold down a job or like stay in a specific career path for like really any length of time. Like, I think maybe a year max in any one of those. And her very wealthy family is kind of fed up with her and tells her to, get it together. You have like 2 months before we kick you out. Your trust is going to be put to sleep for a year. You have to make your own money. This is a scary prospect for Eve. And she like kind of freaks out and like drives out into the countryside of England and comes across this bed and breakfast. And there is a sign on the door asking, help wanted, like for a chef. And she goes in on a whim to interview, and the person interviewing is Jacob, this guy. And he, in many ways, seems to be the exact opposite of Eve. He is a hardcore perfectionist and is pretty miffed that this chick off the street is trying to like convince him that he should hire her for the chef job. She has no experience as a chef. She is a pretty damn good baker, but she's only ever done that for fun. But she thinks, baking, cooking, it's not too different. She thinks she can do this. And the interview doesn't really go that well. And it's like storming after. So she's in her car, like being mopey, and is ready to go home. And she backs her car into Jacob and breaks his arm. Oops. So she has to like stay and try to make things up to him. And he like really does not care for her at the beginning. But then their friendship and love blossoms, and it's beautiful and wholesome. It's very cozy. I really, really enjoyed this one. Pretty steamy at times as well. That was pretty fun. So yeah, I highly recommend this book and the other 2 in the series. I'll read anything by her now. She has convinced me. Like, yes, please. Okay, the other book, or one of the other books I got at this place is The Song of Achilles. So I had heard about this one for a while. Like, I think it came out like 2016 or something around there. And I'd heard about it. I was like, okay, cool. But then this past year, I played Hades. And it features the 2 main characters featured in this book, Patroclus and Achilles. They're so adorable and cute, and I want the best for them. Like, by the time that I got to them in Hades, they're dead. So obviously, they had a life together before the whole death thing, and that's what this book covers. So it starts from like when they meet to when they die, I'm assuming, and or more, I don't know. But basically it shows them going from friends to like pretty sure lovers here, and I'm excited. Like, they're gonna fight together in battle. They're gonna, fight in the Trojan War and stuff. I enjoy Greek mythology, not necessarily for like the big battles and like the gods versus the kings sorts of thing. I mostly like the individual characters, specifically Patty and Achilles in this case. So I'm really excited to give this one a go. It may not, you know, end up so great for these two, but the journey is going to be beautiful and I am ready. So this is Practical Magic, something that you may know or may not. I love witches. It was my favorite of the fantasy tropes in that video, and I just love all sorts of witchy things, and I'm surprised I hadn't heard of this one until more recently, but it is, I think, the first book in a series now. I don't know how many books are in there, but there's a few at least. And at least this book centers around two women who live in this like Massachusetts town, and for some reason their family, specifically the women in their family, including themselves, have been blamed for everything that has gone wrong in this small town for like over 200 years. And they are just trying to live normal lives. Like one of them tries to like get married, the other one decides to run away to like find a better life elsewhere, but something is dragging them back to this town. Maybe magic, I don't know. I'm assuming magic. That's why I'm reading it. But yeah, I'm very excited about this one. I hope I like it. Like I want more witchy things. Like the last couple witch-related books I've read have not fully scratched that itch, so I'm hoping this one does. Okay, on to the last one. I got this one yesterday. I did not intend to get this one yesterday. You know, Barnes & Noble, they have like every book, and you know, it's much bigger than any of the other bookstores that I had gone to, so I was really excited, like, oh, maybe I can find this book and maybe a couple others, but mostly this one that I hadn't been able to find in the other stores. And I was like, okay, if it's here, I'll get it. And I found it. So this is Spin by Robert Charles Wilson. It is a sci-fi book, and it's about how, like, when I think the main character was like 10 years old, one night, all of the stars in the sky got really, really bright and brilliant and intense, and then they all disappeared, like for good. And all that's left is this blank slate of a sky, which I would imagine is terrifying and creepy. I wonder if the moon is still there. Probably, it's not a star. And it just says that stuff gets weird after this. Makes sense. I believe it's also the start of a series. So yeah, we'll see. I do appreciate that the back of this book actually has a synopsis. I feel like you don't see that anymore. It's all reviews, and it's like, some of them aren't even for this book. Get out of here. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, so by reading this synopsis on the back, I learned a couple more things. This blackness is actually a barrier that separates Earth from the rest of the universe, and time passes differently inside and outside of the barrier, and outside of the barrier is bad stuff's happening out there, and they got to figure out what's going on and maybe how to stop it, and aliens. I'm excited. So I have a lot to read. I've already finished one of these. Yes. This was fun. I hope you had fun looking at all the books I got. I look forward to giving reviews on these in my future videos, and I will see you all in the next one. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Do some